My father's fist slammed into the mahogany dinner table so hard the wine glasses trembled. Sign the loan papers, Melissa. $270,000. For your brother's house. Tonight. His voice wasn't a request. It was a command wrapped in decades of control. 8 pairs of eyes locked onto me. My mother's, cold and calculating. My brother Tyler's, smug with entitlement. My sister Emma's, uncertain but complicit. And the extended family, all waiting for me to cave like I always had. You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because what my family tried to do to me, and what I did back, will shock you to your core. This is my story. And it's about to get wild. My name is Melissa Harper, 28 years old. Software engineer living in downtown Austin, Texas. I thought I'd escaped my family's grip when I moved out at 22. But that October night, sitting at their suburban dining table, I realized escape was never really an option for them. They had always seen me as their personal ATM. And they wanted one more withdrawal. The biggest one yet. Let me take you back to how it all started. Not that night at dinner, but years before. When I landed my first real programming job at 23, making $75,000 a year. Good money for someone fresh out of college. I was proud. My parents? They saw opportunity. Dad called me 2 weeks after I got my first paycheck. His voice had that gruff tone he used when he wanted something. Melissa, the electric bill is overdue. You're doing well now. Family helps family. Send us $400. I didn't hesitate. Family helps family, right? That's what I'd been taught my whole life. So I sent the money. Then it was the water bill, the gas bill, the cable subscription, the car insurance. Mom's texts became a monthly ritual. Tight week, sweetie. Can you help out? I'd wire the money within hours, thinking I was being a good daughter, thinking this was what family meant. But here's what I didn't see coming. My older brother, Tyler Harper, 29 years old. No steady job, but somehow always had money for the newest truck, for trips to Cabo San Lucas, for expensive watches and designer clothes. One Thanksgiving, he bragged about dropping $8,000 on what he called a networking conference in Miami. Turns out it was just a 5-day party with his buddies. Dad beamed with pride. Tyler's an entrepreneur. He's building his future. Mom smiled that indulgent smile. He's just finding his path. Meanwhile, I was the one keeping their lights on. When I asked why Tyler never contributed anything, Dad shut me down fast. You're stable, Melissa. Don't make waves. Your brother's still figuring things out. Figuring things out at 29. While I was working 60-hour weeks at 24, the pattern escalated. 2 years into my career, they hit me with what they called a family emergency. We need $10,000. New questions asked. Medical bills, they said. Urgent, they said. I emptied my savings account and sent it. A week later, I saw Tyler's Instagram. New boat. Marina docking fees. Celebration photos with champagne. When I confronted Mom, she waved it off like I was being petty. You're doing fine financially. Let your brother enjoy his life a little. That cut deeper than any knife could. I was working myself to exhaustion while Tyler partied on my dime, and they didn't see anything wrong with it. They never asked about my life. Never asked if I was happy, if I was stressed, if I needed anything. Just another text every month. We need $600 by Friday. My little sister Emma started following their playbook when she turned 20. Melissa, I need $500 for textbooks. I sent it immediately. Then I saw her TikTok filled with concert videos and shopping hauls. Brand new designer purse. Expensive sneakers. Weekend trips to New Orleans. When I brought it up, Mom's response was predictable. Emma's young. She deserves to have fun. Don't be bitter just because you're responsible. Bitter. That word stuck with me. Was I bitter? Or was I just tired of being used? The worst came last spring. Tyler pitched Mom and Dad on some real estate investment scheme that sounded like a pyramid scheme from the start. Multi-level property flipping. Guaranteed returns. All the red flags were there. But they co-signed a loan for him anyway. $70,000. When it crashed 3 months later, surprise surprise, they turned to me. Dad's voice was sharp on the phone. You have to help us clean this up. We're family. For the first time in 6 years, I said no. The silence on the other end was deafening. Then came Mom's call an hour later. Softer tone, but the manipulation was crystal clear. Family doesn't abandon family, Melissa. We raised you better than this. But something shifted in me that day. I started seeing the pattern clearly. They weren't my family. They were users wearing family masks. Every dollar I gave bought me nothing but more demands. No gratitude. No respect. Just expectations that I'd keep funding their lifestyle. I sat in my apartment that night staring at my bank account. Years of overtime. Years of saying no to vacations, to new furniture, to anything for myself. All so they could have what they wanted. While praising Tyler's reckless dreams. While excusing Emma's carelessness. While treating me like an obligation instead of a person. The dinner invitation came in September. Mom's text was casual. Family dinner this Saturday. 6 p.m. Don't be late. Something felt off about it. They rarely did formal family dinners anymore. But I went, thinking maybe they wanted to actually spend time together. I was so naive. I arrived at their house in the suburbs at 5:55 p.m. The same house I grew up in. The same house I'd been paying to keep running for years. Tyler's new truck was in the driveway. A lifted Silverado that probably cost $60,000. Emma's car, a leased BMW, sat next to it. I drove a 7-year-old Honda Civic. Paid off, practical, but it felt pathetic next to their displays of wealth funded by God knows what. Mom opened the door with a tight smile. Melissa, you made it. Come in. Dinner's almost ready. The dining room was set formally. China plates, cloth napkins, candles. This wasn't a casual family dinner. This was a stage. And I was about to find out I was the main act. Dad sat at the head of the table. Tyler to his right, looking pleased with himself. Mom to his left, Emma next to Tyler, and 2 empty chairs. One for me. One for Tyler's new girlfriend, some woman named Brittany who worked in pharmaceutical sales. We made small talk through the appetizers. How's work, Melissa? Fine. Busy. I kept my answers short. Because I knew something was coming. Then the main course arrived. Pot roast. Mashed potatoes. The meal Mom used to make for special occasions. For celebrations. Dad cleared his throat. Everyone put down their forks. Here it comes, I thought. Tyler has some exciting news, Dad announced. He's buying his first house. A real investment property. Starting to build his real estate portfolio. Tyler grinned, leaning back in his chair. 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Nice neighborhood. Great appreciation potential. I'm going to flip it in 2 years and make a killing. Mom beamed. We're so proud of him. Finally putting down roots. Building something real. Emma clapped her hands. That's amazing, Tyler. I stayed quiet, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Dad turned to me. His eyes had that look. The one that said I wasn't going to like what came next. The thing is, Melissa, Tyler needs a cosigner for the loan. His credit's not quite there yet. And given everything you've contributed to this family over the years, we thought you'd want to help him with this opportunity. There it was. The ask. The real reason for this dinner. I set down my fork carefully. How much? $270,000, Dad said. Like it was nothing. Like it was a small favor. The room went silent. Everyone was watching me, waiting for me to say yes like I always did. But something inside me had already decided. I'm not signing anything. Dad's face darkened. Excuse me? I said I'm not co-signing a loan for Tyler. Tyler's smug expression cracked. Are you serious right now? Completely serious. Dad's fist came down on the table. The wine glasses shook. The candles flickered. You owe this family, Melissa. Everything we've done for you. Raising you. Supporting you. And this is how you repay us? By abandoning your brother when he needs you? I felt the old guilt trying to surface. The programming they'd installed in me for decades. But I pushed it down. What exactly have you done for me, Dad? Raised me? That's what parents are supposed to do. That's not a debt. Mom's voice was sharp. Don't you dare speak to your father that way. We've given you everything. I looked around the table, at their faces full of indignation and entitlement. And I started laughing. Not a happy laugh. A bitter, exhausted laugh. Given me everything? I've paid your electric bills for 6 years. I paid for Emma's college tuition. I gave you $10,000 that went straight to Tyler's boat. I funded your lifestyle while working myself into the ground. And you think you've given me everything? Tyler leaned forward. You're being dramatic. Family helps each other out. That's how it works. Then where's your help, Tyler? When have you ever helped anyone but yourself? He had no answer. Dad stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. If you don't sign those papers, you're not welcome in this house anymore. You'll be dead to this family. Is that what you want? I stood up too, grabbed my purse, and looked each of them in the eye. If family means being your ATM forever, then yes. That's exactly what I want. I walked out. No goodbye. No looking back. Just walked straight to my car and drove home. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. Not from fear, from relief. I'd finally said no. And I meant it. The backlash started within hours. Text messages flooded my phone. Mom saying I was selfish and ungrateful. Emma saying I was tearing the family apart. Tyler calling me names I won't repeat. Even relatives I barely knew started messaging me, saying I should be ashamed. That family comes first. That I was throwing away my only real support system. I blocked them all. Every single one. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I called my bank. Changed all my passwords. Set up two-factor authentication. Added alerts for any transaction over $100. Then I called the 3 major credit bureaus. Froze my credit completely. If anyone tried to open an account or take a loan in my name, it would be blocked. I wasn't taking any chances. My best friend Lindsay Carter called that night. She was the only person from my hometown I still trusted. Are you okay? She'd heard about the dinner from her mom, who knew my mom. I'm better than okay, I told her. I'm free. She understood. Lindsay had watched my family drain me for years. She'd been telling me to cut them off since we were in college. I'm proud of you, she said. This was a long time overdue. For the next few days, I waited for the guilt to hit. For the doubt to creep in. For that voice in my head saying I'd made a mistake. But it never came. Instead, I felt lighter. Like I'd been carrying a backpack full of rocks for years and finally put it down. I threw myself into work. Picked up a new project, developing a financial management app. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was helping other people manage their money while I'd let my family mismanage mine for years. But that was changing. 2 weeks after the dinner, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Melissa, it's Dad. I almost hung up. What do you want? Tyler's loan fell through. He can't get the house without a cosigner. You need to reconsider. No, I don't. You're really going to let your brother's dreams die because you're being petty? His dreams aren't my responsibility. And nothing about this is petty. This is me finally understanding that you've been using me for years. I hung up. Blocked that number too. But Dad's call told me something important. They were desperate. And desperate people do dangerous things. I found out just how dangerous a week later. Lindsay called me, her voice tense. You need to check your credit report right now. Why? What's wrong? Just check it. Trust me. I logged into my credit monitoring service. And there it was. A new credit card application in my name. Submitted 3 days ago. Denied because of my credit freeze. But someone had tried. Someone had my social security number, my date of birth, my address. Someone had tried to open a credit card in my name, and I had a pretty good idea who. I called the credit card company immediately. They confirmed it was a fraudulent application. I filed a police report for identity theft that same day. The officer taking my statement was sympathetic. Family member? He'd seen it before. My brother, I confirmed. Do you have proof? I'm working on it. But I knew. Tyler had tried to trap me another way. What exactly have you done for me, Dad? Raised me? That's what parents are supposed to do. That's not a debt. Mom's voice was sharp. Don't you dare speak to your father that way. We've given you everything. I looked around the table, at their faces full of indignation and entitlement. And I started laughing. Not a happy laugh. A bitter, exhausted laugh. Given me everything? I've paid your electric bills for 6 years. I paid for Emma's college tuition. That I was selfish and cruel. That after everything they'd sacrificed for me, I turned my back on the family. The narrative they spun was impressive. According to them, they'd never asked me for money. I'd offered it freely. And now I was making up stories to justify cutting them off. Tyler was playing the victim too. Telling people I'd promised to co-sign his loan then backed out at the last minute. Ruining his chance at building a better life. The lies were spreading fast. If he couldn't get me to co-sign willingly, he'd just steal my identity and do it anyway. I documented everything. Screenshots. Bank statements. Text messages. Every demand for money over the years. Every guilt trip. Every manipulation. I wasn't just protecting myself anymore. I was building a case. Lindsay became my eyes and ears back home. She'd report what she heard through the grapevine. Apparently, my parents were telling everyone I'd abandoned them. It was gaslighting on a public scale. And it almost worked. A colleague at work pulled me aside. "Hey, is everything okay financially?" I saw some concerning posts. I had to explain that those accounts weren't mine. That my family was literally committing identity fraud. The HR department got involved. They helped me document everything for legal purposes. And they put a note in my file that any communication claiming to be from me should be verified directly. My company had my back. My family never did. I hired a lawyer specializing in identity theft and family law. The consultation was eye-opening. "You have multiple claims here," she explained. "Identity theft, defamation, financial exploitation, possibly even fraud if they misrepresented where the money you sent was going. What do you want to do?" "I want them to stop," I said, "and I want to make sure they can never do this to anyone else." We sent cease and desist letters to my parents, Tyler, and Emma. Legal language making it clear that any further attempts to use my identity, defame me, or harass me would result in a lawsuit. The letters were delivered by certified mail. They had to sign for them. There was no pretending they didn't know. For a few days, everything went quiet. I thought maybe they'd finally gotten the message. Then Lindsay called. "You're not going to believe this." "What now?" "Your mom posted on Facebook that you're having a mental breakdown, that you've cut off your family because of some psychological episode, and that they're praying for you to get help." I felt my blood pressure spike. They were doubling down, painting me as unstable to discredit anything I said about them. It was a calculated move, and it was time to end this. I gave my lawyer permission to move forward with a lawsuit. Not for money. I didn't want their money. I wanted accountability. The lawsuit named Tyler for identity theft and fraud, my parents for defamation and financial exploitation. It detailed every payment I'd made over the years, every fake account created in my name, every lie they'd spread. It was all there, black and white. Indéniable. The local news got wind of it. Family member sues relatives for financial exploitation. The story spread. And suddenly, people who'd believed my family's lies started asking questions. Lindsay reported that the tide was turning. People were seeing the court documents, reading the actual evidence, and realizing my family had been lying the whole time. Tyler's real estate dreams crumbled. Without my co-signature, he couldn't get the loan. Without the loan, he couldn't buy the house. Without the house, his whole get-rich-quick scheme fell apart. And apparently, he'd already been telling people he was a real estate investor, already taking loans from friends and relatives, promising returns on properties he didn't own. It was a house of cards. And it collapsed. My parents lost their house 6 months later. Turns out they'd been using home equity loans to fund Tyler's ventures and their lifestyle. When I stopped sending money, they couldn't make the payments. The bank foreclosed. They had to move into a small apartment across town. Emma dropped out of college. She'd been relying on my money to cover expenses her scholarship didn't. When that dried up, she couldn't afford to stay. She got a job at a retail store, making minimum wage, learning what it meant to actually work for money. I felt no joy in their downfall, but I felt no guilt either. These were consequences of their choices. Not mine. I'd protected myself. And that was enough. The lawsuit settled out of court. Tyler had to admit to the identity theft in a written statement. My parents had to issue a public apology on social media. And all of them were permanently barred from contacting me. Legal protection. Enforceable in court. I moved to Nashville 6 months after that dinner. Fresh start. New city. Same career, but with a promotion and a raise. I found a small apartment in a quiet neighborhood. Plants in the windows. Coffee shop on the corner. A life that was completely, totally mine. Lindsay visited a few months after my move. We sat on my balcony drinking wine as the sun set over the city. "You did it," she said. "You actually broke free." I smiled. It took long enough. She clinked her glass against mine. Better late than never. My sister Emma texted me once, 6 months after I'd moved. "I'm sorry. I didn't understand what was happening." I didn't reply. Some bridges burn for a reason. My parents never reached out. Their pride wouldn't let them. And Tyler? Last I heard from Lindsay, he was working at a car dealership, selling the trucks he used to drive, living in a 1-bedroom apartment, buried in debt from all his failed schemes. The consequences had caught up. As for me, I'm thriving. My app launched successfully, won an industry award, got featured in a tech magazine. I'm dating someone who actually values me for who I am, not what I can give them. I have friends who show up for me. And I have peace. Real, genuine peace. Here's what I learned through all of this. Family isn't about blood. It's about respect. About reciprocity. About people who see you as a person, not a resource. For years, I confused obligation with love. I thought being a good family member meant sacrificing everything. But real family doesn't ask you to sacrifice yourself. Real family lifts you up, celebrates your success without jealousy, supports you without expectation of repayment. My biological family taught me what family shouldn't be. And in learning that lesson, I found the family I chose. Friends like Lindsay who stood by me. Colleagues who had my back. A partner who sees my worth. These are the people who matter. These are my real family. I don't regret cutting off my parents and siblings. I regret that it took me so long. Years of my life spent funding their dysfunction. Years of stress and exhaustion. But I don't dwell on it. Because every day in Nashville, I wake up free. Free from their demands. Free from their manipulation. Free from the weight of carrying people who never appreciated me. I built this life myself. Brick by brick. Dollar by dollar. Decision by decision. And nobody can take it from me. That dinner table ultimatum was supposed to be my breaking point. The moment I finally caved to their demands. But it became my liberation. The night I stopped being their ATM. The night I started being my own person. If you're in a situation like I was, hear me clearly. You don't owe anyone your financial security. Not your parents. Not your siblings. Not anyone. Helping family is beautiful when it's chosen and reciprocated. But when it's demanded and one-sided, it's not help. It's exploitation. And you have every right to walk away. You have every right to protect yourself. You have every right to build a life on your own terms. People will judge you. They'll call you selfish. They'll say family should come first. But those people aren't paying your bills. They're not working your overtime hours. They're not sacrificing their peace for someone else's comfort. You are. And you deserve better. I deserved better. And when I finally believed that, everything changed. My father thought slamming his fist on the table would intimidate me into compliance. But it woke me up instead. Showed me exactly what they thought of me. A means to an end. A bank account with a pulse. I'm not that anymore. I'm Melissa Harper. Software engineer. Nashville resident. Survivor of family financial abuse. And I'm finally free. That's my story. Thanks for listening. And remember, you don't owe anyone your destruction. Not even family. Especially not family who sees you as an obligation instead of a person. Build your life. Protect your peace. And never apologize for putting yourself first. Because you matter. Your happiness matters. Your financial security matters. And anyone who tells you otherwise isn't family. They're just users wearing a family mask. Take it from someone who spent years learning that lesson the hard way. The only person you owe anything to is yourself. And the best revenge? Living well. Living free. Living on your own terms. I did it. And so can you. The end.